good, the true, the beautiful, in everything we find. Aesthetic cloud, we strive to make a world that's kind and bright.
It's 2 p.m., January the 13th, 2026, our 6th meeting of our 143rd year in 2026. Who knew? Please silence your cell phones, put them in airplane mode. It makes it easier for Len to do his recording. Sign the attendance book if you have not. We are trying to keep up with attendance. If you have not signed it yet, on your way out, please sign it. And also know that Tracy has the revised, corrected program books. If you have not gotten one, she has them on a table there with a sign-up sheet, so she makes sure everybody gets one. And the entertainment committee will have a short meeting after the program at the back of the room, our other room there, to help coordinate what they're going to do for Founders Day, our next meeting. If you're viewing this online, please text to Jeanette Hamilton with your name and the program that you've watched. We have a number of people who've been catching up programs, so help her know what you're watching so she can keep a good record. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes? There was one correction that we got that Lisa sent me and now has added to the minutes, correcting some of the information from Jane Madden's presentation on textiles. If you truly want to see that, we can make that available. If there are no other corrections or additions, they are approved. We have a number of guests today. Diane Allen and Carolyn Easton are guests of Mary Lowe Kennedy. Can I get you to please stand so we can see you? Thank you. Jessica Drake is a guest of Sandra Mangum. And Karen Clark and Don Van Diver are guests of Carmen McEnany. And I have another one? Sharon Metter, wonderful. Welcome. Our decorations today, our chairman of hostesses is Mary B. Gross, and if she would please come forward, the decorations are wonderful. You need to go and walk around and look at all of them.
Thank you, and we hope you do. And welcome honored guests and fellow seats. My other hostesses are Jennifer Carmen and Rebecca Winburn, back over here. So the theme today was Memphis music and Southern food. And you will see this is our Southern food section over here. We have a James Beard biography. We have a number of old cookbooks. You're welcome to come and flip through them. You have to always have a cast iron skillet when you're talking about Southern food. So we have that. And we have a number of other things, but what you'll see also is a cornmeal sack from 1915 to 1920, somewhere in that time period. So feel free to come up and look at these things. And then over here, we have Memphis music. We have actual vinyl albums from Sun Records. And we have some real blue suede shoes, if you want to see those. And the albums are really kind of something fun to see, and so we hope y'all will look at those. And then, of course, because it is a sense of the South, we have magnolia and holly blossoms to accent everything. And that completes everything that we have as we continue to focus on the South and what we love, food and music.
Thank you. Part of our quote today suggests that music is food to the heart and should be part of all our lives. I can certainly agree with that, as I think music can be soothing, comforting, energizing, encouraging, and joyful. It's been described as a joyful noise that spreads hope and positivity. Our chairman of the day today is Luann C. It's been my very good fortune to get to know Luann this year, as she worked so hard on the program committee and taking over the yearbook production, which, due to a variety of reasons, the yearbook was an extra challenge this year, and it just dropped in her lap. She's always stepped up graciously and quickly to address any issues. This speaks to her acumen in business and banking that she acquired during her working years at Twin City Bank and then Digital One. And she said that you may not all know Digital One, but you probably all know Systematics, and it sort of morphed from Systematics into that. Luann grew up in beautiful Santa Fe, New Mexico, and came to the South to attend the Christian Brothers University in Memphis, encouraged by a recommendation of an uncle and a scholarship. She'll be married 34 years this year, has 3 grown children. Ryan and his wife are medical residents at the Cincinnati Children's Hospital. Reed is an analyst with Stevens, and he is engaged to be married in April. And Riley Ann, who has begun her career at FinTech. Luann enjoys reading, golf, traveling, needlework, cooking, and knitting. Luann.
Madam President, fellow estates, and honored guests, you are in for a treat today. Today's quote of the day comes from Gregory David Roberts. Food is music to the body. Music is food to the heart. I know for my family that this is true. We love to dance in the kitchen while preparing our food, really any genre. And so this quote really hit home for me. I bet this may be true for several people in this room, including Ellen Cockrell. If you know Ellen, you know I could take 30 minutes just to introduce her. Ellen has a degree in nutrition from the University of Arkansas with advanced training from the University of Tennessee Medical School, and spent many years defining nutritional requirements for children in 32 day centers around the state. Ellen has championed mental health for young people and children, as well as raising awareness for hunger for those disadvantaged. Ellen has served on boards and auxiliaries for most every hospital in Little Rock and continues to volunteer with different agencies, including the Alzheimer's Association. Ellen has done all of this while managing a 15,000-acre farm, so that's well done. When asked what people should know about her, she simply said to say that she worked hard at whatever she did. Ellen was born in Memphis, Tennessee, so the paper she was assigned was a perfect fit. Ellen has been in estate since 2019, and this is her third paper, Rockin' and Rollin' with Soul. Ellen.
Thanks, Luann. Madam President, Madam Chair, fellow estates, and honored guest. When we hear the words rock and roll, we think of energy, rebellion, and a rhythm that makes you want to move. When we hear the word soul, we think of feeling, truth, and music that reaches deep down inside us. What happens when these two forces come together? When music doesn't just entertain us, but it speaks to who we are. This is a story of rock and roll with soul. This fusion changed the world of music forever. I want you to close your eyes for a second, take a deep breath, and imagine this. It is the 1950s. Some of you are too young to imagine that. It is the 1950s and the radio is on, either in the car or in your kitchen, and you hear it, the beat. You turn it up just a little bit louder, and maybe you tap your foot or maybe you sway your hips. You hear the roar of a crowd, the soulful wail of a guitar, a voice that makes you feel every joy and every struggle in your heart. That sound came from Memphis, Tennessee, a city where music isn't just heard, it's lived. Today I'm going to take you on a journey through streets, recording studios, and the record company that made Memphis the heartbeat of rock and roll and soul. Now, Memphis is more than just a city. It's the crossroads of American music. From the blues that drifted from Beale Street to the birth of rock and roll and the soul that fills Sun Studios and Stax Records. Memphis has shaped the soundtracks of generations. The rebellious side of Memphis music is rock and roll. In the 1950s, Memphis Sun Studio became the launching pad for such legendary artists like Elvis Presley, Johnny Cash, Jerry Lee Lewis, and Carl Perkins. And I bet you're all thinking of those songs that they produced. Sometimes they're referred to as the $1 Million Quartet. One day, a very young, unassuming truck driver walked into Sun Records. His passion for music was boundless. His name was Elvis Presley. He walked in and recorded his first song. The song was written for his mother. That's all right, Mama. And as they say, the rest is history. Sun Studio wasn't just a recording space. It was where rhythm and blues collided with country, giving rise to the rebellious new music called rock and roll. The new genre didn't just entertain us, it challenged our social norms and inspired a youth culture that resonated far beyond Tennessee. Elvis recorded many songs that fused various genres, rhythm and blues with country and gospel, to create something that the world had never heard before. He captivated an audience starving for something new. His dynamic style and his magnetic stage presence marked the birth of a musical revolution, propelling Memphis to the forefront of rock and roll movement. But hey, it wasn't just Elvis. Complementing his skyrocketing fame were Johnny Cash with Folsom Prison Blues and I Walk the Line, Jerry Lee Lewis, Great Balls of Fire, and a whole lot of shaking going on, Carl Perkins, Blue Suede Shoes, and each of them brought their unique flair to rock and roll, and all of them found a voice in Memphis. Rock and roll wasn't just music, it was a revolution, a sound that crossed racial and social boundaries, giving young people a sense of freedom and identity. These artists weren't just performing, they were testifying. It wasn't just a sound, it was a performance. Artists didn't stand still. They moved, Elvis the pelvis. They shouted, whispered, sweated, and every note carried some intention. Music, Memphis music, had another revolutionary sound called soul. This music was full of deep emotion, feeling, spiritual depth, conveying passion, empathy, or sincerity. Stax Records, which was established in 1957 by Jim Stewart and Estelle Axton, a brother and sister team who needed her money, was the crown jewel of Memphis soul. Artists like Otis Redding, sitting on the dock with the Bay, right? Booker T and the MGs, Green Onions, Reverend Al Green, Love and Happiness, and Let's Stay Together, the staple singers, I'll Take You There, and Isaac Hayes, theme from Shaft, weren't just making music. They were telling stories of love, struggle, and hope, which broke down racial barriers challenged traditional norms, and gave young people a sense of identity and freedom. Notice the theme here? Stax was one of the first racially integrated studios in America. Musicians of all backgrounds came together, creating a sound that was raw, honest, and powerful. Songs from Stax could move you to dance, to tears, or to both. The Memphis Soul sound wasn't just popular, it was transformational. It combined gospel, blues, and rhythm and blues into something entirely new, music that moved both the body and the soul. It gave a voice to those who needed the most, and it influenced music worldwide. Well, no discussion of Memphis music is complete without a mention of Beale Street. Beale Street was the beating heart of Memphis music. The historic quarter was a melting pot for musicians, fans, and cultural exchanges. The impact of music of Memphis goes beyond entertainment. It fueled social change, inspired dance and fashion, and shaped the civil rights movement. Music in Memphis wasn't just heard, it was experienced, shared, and passed on to the world. It connected people in ways that words alone could never do. From the 1920s until today, Beale Street has hosted legendary performances, shaping the musical identity of the city and offering a platform where jazz, blues, and soul could flourish together. One such performer on Beale Street, The Thrill Is Gone, and of course, Lucille, was B.B. King, and his blues and his Memphis soul taught resilience, creativity, and the power of community, leaving a legacy that continues to influence musicians worldwide today. If you find yourself in Memphis on Beale Street, check out B.B. King's Blues Club, and you'll dance the night away with live music that ranges from blues to classic, soul, and rock and roll. You will feel a part of the history of the Memphis sound. Now, Memphis is more than just a city. It's a rhythm, a pulse, and a soul. From the rebellious beats of rock and roll to the deep, heartfelt grooves of soul, Memphis has given the world a soundtrack of freedom, passion, and innovation. When we think of the phrase rock and roll with soul in Memphis, we're not just talking about music. We're talking about a culture, a history, and an enduring heartbeat that continues to inspire the world today. Today's music still carries the fingerprints of rock and roll with soul. It still talks about honesty over perfection, feeling over polish, and connection over performance. It's about music that moves your feet and your heart. So the next time you hear the twang of a guitar, the wail of a horn, or the soulful voice of a singer, think of Memphis, the city where music lives, breathes, and inspires. Thank you.
I'm just glad that Ellen mentioned Johnny Cash, since I paid homage to him today in my all black. It was planned. Jeanette Hamilton is our musician today. Jeanette has been in Aesthete since 2019 and has served on the program committee, music committee, and now is enjoying her role as vice president. After receiving her Bachelor of Music from UA Little Rock, she obtained her law degree from the Bowen School of Law and began practicing law in 1986, serving as Deputy Attorney General in the Attorney General's Medical Fraud Unit prior to her retirement. After 30 years of law practice, Jeanette retired and came full circle, once again taking classical and jazz piano lessons at UA Little Rock. She is currently active in PEO Chapter C, volunteers as a pianist in the lobby at Carti, which I think is so cool, and belongs to several amateur music groups in Little Rock. She and her husband loved the Southwest and especially loves adding to her collection of Navajo jewelry. Take a look at her necklace today, and art when she travels there. This is Jeanette's 6th performance for the Aesthetic Club, and she will introduce her own program.
Thank you, Luann. Madam President, fellow aesthetes and guests, in keeping with our quote of the day, food is music to the body, music is food to the heart. Upon receiving the assignment for today's meeting, I went to work finding music that had food as a major theme. And because the wonderful paper just given by Ellen explored Memphis and the rock and roll and soul and gospel music that originated there, I wanted something touching on Memphis too. The first song that came to mind was Walking in Memphis, written by Mark Cohn in 1991. The simple but iconic piano riff sets kind of a mood that I associate with the very unique musical culture of Memphis, Tennessee. Wikipedia tells us that few one-hit wonders are as timeless as the song Walking in Memphis, and I couldn't agree more. The songwriter himself has described his song as more than just about a place, it's about a spiritual awakening. But believe it or not, there really aren't very many songs, never mind solo classical piano pieces, with food themes or references. There aren't. So it came to me that today's meeting would be the first to take place after the holidays, after turkey and ham and green bean casserole and sweet potato casserole. So I came up with the idea of exploring the lighter side of food. Fun food, shall we say. Nothing so mundane as meat and potatoes. That led me to think about one of my favorite jazz standards, Peel Me a Grape, written by Dave Frischberg in 1962, and immortalized by Blossom Dearie and then more recently by Diana Krall. The playful lyrics depict a diva being fed grapes, bonbons, and nuts, not to mention being spoiled with cashmere and luxury automobiles. As I won't be singing, I'll have to try to create the mood with my fingers, and I'm lucky to have Lynn to post the lyrics so you can picture this lady being spoiled by the hapless chap that's peeling grapes and peaches for her. So here is my Walking in Memphis, Peel Me a Grape medley. My next selection is a piece by contemporary classical Japanese composer Akira Yuyama. I discovered this composer and this piece completely by accident while searching for food-themed music. In addition to piano works, Yuyama has written many orchestral works as well as a large body of choral music. I was really fortunate to discover Yuyama's collection entitled Confections, a Piano Suite. And please note that suite is spelled not S-U-I-T-E, but S-W-E-E-T. I'll show you the book. It's pretty cute. And the piece I've chosen for today is entitled, in keeping with the lighter, fun food theme, Popcorn. My final selection is, I will admit, a bit of a stretch in keeping with the food theme. But in my defense, don't we all really wish our troubles could just melt like lemon drops? I know I've had that wish more than a few times. Somewhere Over the Rainbow was written by Harold Arlen and Yip Harburg for the 1939 film The Wizard of Oz. It won the Academy Award for Best Original Song and became Judy Garland's signature song. And although it's been recorded and performed by many artists since, it's difficult to think of anyone but Judy Garland when you hear the song. Once again, you'll be able to read the lyrics on the screen, but I'm guessing that almost everyone in the room knows the lyrics by heart. This is my own arrangement of Somewhere Over the Rainbow.
was a pleasure to get to know Kate Evans, who is our next presenter. I am not sure I have ever seen Kate without a smile on her face. Kate is an English professor, food lover, and good Southern girl. While she has enjoyed traveling the world with friends and family, she firmly believes the best meals of her life have been at the tables of Southern cooks. These days, she eats a lot of mac and cheese and blueberries because she has a toddler. But in her heart, she's a fancy foodie. Kate joined the Aesthetic Club in 2025. This is her first paper, and the award goes to. It details the sweet, sour, bitter, and salty aspects of the James Beard Awards. Kate.
Thank you, Luann. Madam President, Madam Chairman, fellow athletes and guests. My paper is titled "And the Award Goes To," and I intend to tell you what I've learned about the Oscars of the food world. Almost 20 years ago, I had the pleasure of taking a short summer vacation with my parents, one of the last we would take together while I was still young and single. My mother planned the whole trip, and between us, I think it was largely inspired by her reading of Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. And as you can probably guess, we went to Savannah, Georgia, and this trip was centered almost wholly on two things: the movie tours, not just Midnight in the Garden, but also Forrest Gump, and food. Seafood on craft paper, pralines hot and melting right out of the vat, and the buttery fare of the then very famous Paula Deen, arguably the best that the South has to offer. On our third day in the city, we lined up outside a small boarding house along with dozens of other tourists, and my mother revealed, somewhat conspiratorially, that this institution was Miss Wilkes' dining room and we would be eating family style, which I had never experienced in a restaurant in the US before. I knew my dad would hate it. Making small talk with complete strangers, but the three of us were seated at a large round table with 5 or 6 other people, and almost immediately the food began to arrive. I don't think we even ordered anything. Steaming bowls of gravy, heaps of mashed potatoes, and platters of fresh, glittering fried chicken straight out of the oil. Other dishes that were more mysterious to me: okra gumbo and sweet potato souffle. Years later, I would realize the precious experience my parents had given me, a truly lovely introduction to James Beard award-winning food. Up until that time, I had heard of the Michelin star for fine dining, but the James Beard Award was not something I'd heard about. The cozy family-style dining at Miss Wilkes is a perfect representation of what the award is meant to represent: a love of food, culture, and American communities. Officially established in 1990, the James Beard Foundation seeks to, quote, recognize exceptional talent and achievement in the culinary arts, hospitality, media, and broader food system, as well as a demonstrated commitment to equity, community, sustainability, and a culture where all can thrive. We will return to the bit about equity in a moment. So as you can see, the James Beard Foundation didn't just set out to highlight delectable cuisine. The foundation and its namesake, chef, actor, author, and foodie, James Beard, is inextricable from the ever-changing media around food: cookbooks, television shows, food journalism, and culinary curriculum. The entire life of James Andrew Beard is interwoven with the language and history of cooking. He was born in 1903 in Oregon into a foodie family. His mother, Elizabeth, ran a boarding house, much like the one I visited in Savannah. This exposed a young James to a varied lifestyle centered on the importance of nourishing his surrounding community. For over 50 years, James traveled throughout America and experienced her glorious regional cuisines and natural bounty, and eventually settled in New York City. He worked to knit together the realms of cuisine and cooking, hospitality, television, radio, cookbook writing, and food journalism. In 1954, the New York Times deemed James Beard the Dean of American Cookery, and then in 1955, James established his own cooking school. He spent 30 years, the last 30 years of his life, educating Americans on the thrill of cooking fresh food, local food, and he helped to establish a cohesive idea of what American cuisine really represented. He acquired a host of famous friends, including Julia Childs. It was Julia Childs who, with a group of other chefs, purchased James Beard's home after he died in 1985 and came together to create the James Beard Foundation. The first official James Beard Foundation awards were then given out in 1991, solidifying well-known chefs as actual celebrities in American culture. Names you know, Emeril Lagasse, Rick Bayless, and Wolfgang Puck were among the first ever winners, and give serious credence to the claim that the James Beard Awards are the Oscars of the food world. The awards ceremony, which usually occurs in early May to correspond with James Beard's birthday, has taken place every year since 1991, with the exception of 2020 due to COVID, yes. The awards ceremony and the foundation have grown and evolved to accommodate the changing world of food and culinary media. I found out about the James Beard Award through watching Top Chef, so we can see how it's kind of expanded. The foundation's current governance model includes infrastructure to best support ethical and diverse processes. However, that hasn't always been the case. The foundation is not without scandal, of course. The controversy in the history of the James Beard Awards reminds us that food and cuisine are very much linked and reflective of the social stressors of the nation. On the heels of the explosive 2016 Me Too movement, the culinary world was also facing a painful reckoning. By 2018, female chefs and food journalists were coming forward with heinous accounts of harassment and hostility within the industry, all while pointing out that most winners of the coveted James Beard Awards have been white men. Odd, given that cooking is an art most notably associated with women and people of color. Well, good cooking, anyway. No offense, Lynn. A major overhaul began within the foundation, starting with reassessing the over 600 judges who take part in the yearly awards ceremony. According to awards committee chair Amy Quattrano, the foundation will now require, quote, judges to consider the totality of what they know about the candidates when they vote, not just the quality of their food, but the quality of their leadership. Despite occasional outcries, the James Beard Foundation has course-corrected its judging and awarding process, and the culinary world has benefited from a broader and more inclusive judging panel, and therefore a more diverse winner's circle. So how do the awards work? The process is still quite mysterious, despite efforts by the foundation to be more transparent. As mentioned above, the yearly awards encompass more than just exceptional dishes or restaurants. The James Beard Foundation seeks award winners in the restaurant and chef category, but also in media, broadcast media, books, journalism, and impact, a category that highlights the philanthropic responsibility of restaurateurs and chefs to serve their communities. Each of these categories entertain open call nominations that require a short video of the nominee. The awards are given by region rather than state. So if, like me, you search James Beard Award winners in Arkansas, the results are rather befuddling. Along with the standard categories, the foundation has also recognized some restaurants, including Miss Wilkes Dining Room, as American classics. These are family-owned restaurants that represent the best of American cuisine, and Little Rock was home to one of these American classics for many years. Little Rock's famous Lassus Inn, located just off of Roosevelt, is a catfish restaurant known for more than just its delicious fare. According to the Encyclopedia of Arkansas, Lassus Inn was founded around 1905 by Joe and Molasses Watson, and during the desegregation of Central High School in 1957, gets me emotional, in 1957, it served as a meeting place for Daisy Bates and other civil rights leaders. And along with its cultural significance, Lassus Inn has also become famous for its food. In her book, Cornbread Nation, historian Catherine Whitworth writes, quote, "The Lassus Inn hunkers along the interstate in a small royal blue building. It is the architectural equivalent of minding your own business. And it's hard to notice unless you're looking for it, but what goes on there is excellent catfish." The rich history and heavenly catfish caught the attention of the James Beard Foundation and led to this prestigious award for the restaurant and the city. The Lassesen is currently closed, but locals hope for a triumphant return. To speak more specifically about the 2025 James Beard Awards cycle, 3 Arkansas chefs were named semifinalists in the Best Chef category. Matthew Cooper of Bentonville's Conifer, Rafael Rios of Yayo's, also in Bentonville, and Jordan Wright of Wright's Barbecue, which started in Northwest Arkansas but is now a staple of the Little Rock barbecue scene. Now, Conifer is dedicated gluten-free, farm to table, and it highlights the bounty of local farmers up in Northwest Arkansas. Since its opening in 2022, the restaurant has offered Arkansas residents a taste of classical culinary training with a focus on accommodating dietary needs of the modern patron. Chef and owner Matthew Cooper was also considered for a James Beard Award in 2024. The menu, which the website describes as hyper-seasonal, offers gluten-free breads, shareable salads, and entrees ranging from fanciful autumn ratatouille to comfortable favorites like chicken and dumplings. Also in Bentonville is semifinalist Rafael Rios, Yayo's Mexican Grill. Another eatery that perfectly exemplifies the purpose of James Beard's vision for American cuisine. Yayo's tells the story of a Mexican migrant family that took their love from their family farm in Little Flock, Arkansas, to their first food truck on the Bentonville Square, now to multiple locations of their brick and mortar establishments, and multiple nods from the James Beard Foundation. Yayo's celebrates Mexico's rich culinary traditions while embracing the natural bounty of Northwest Arkansas. And the menu boasts classics like tacos and burritos, and also surprising brunch offerings like the huevos mochileños, which is fried masa cakes with glazed peas, ham, fried plantains, and eggs. Muy bueno. The third local semifinalist may have his roots in Northwest Arkansas, but we now get to enjoy his offerings just a couple miles down the road from where we sit. Wright's Barbecue began as a simple idea in Jordan Wright's backyard and has expanded into a multi-location favorite with accolades in Southern Living magazine and a top spot on Yelp's Best Barbecue list in 2024. It may be considered Texas-style barbecue, but the whole country is crazy about Wright's. My husband would recommend the smoked chicken with green beans, but I often find myself ordering the Big John, which is a bowl of Fritos topped with tender brisket and smoked beans. And if you're eating in, you'll find long tables to accommodate family-style eating, just like I enjoyed at Miss Wilkes all those years ago. If you've eaten at any of these Arkansas restaurants, then you already know the essence of the James Beard Foundation and what he and his culinary followers hoped to celebrate in their awards. A love of local ingredients and the media that highlights them, an awareness of the communities that allow food to be more than just fuel, but social necessity. And while James Beard worked to showcase the beauty, complexity, and nourishment of a collective American cuisine, nowhere is it illustrated so lovingly as at a Southern table. Thank you.
I did say y'all were in for a treat, and I think these ladies lived up to that promise. So if there's nothing else, we are adjourned. Thank you.